Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Adam here with Indie Farm Life. Today, I'm gonna work on my little red wagon. Let me show you what I'm up to. So I got this wagon a few years back to help move dirt around the farm, and it's pretty stout underneath, 8-ton running gear, but the sidewalls and the bed inside leave a little to be desired. It's pretty thin sheet metal, and admittedly though, it's not really built for what I use it for hauling dirt. It's mostly for corn and whatnot, but with a little modification, this thing can be even more awesome than it is now. Yeah, right here you can see one of the areas where I was loading some clay in here with the backhoe, and it was a big clump and it knocked the sidewall out. So I got some plans. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. So after having built our house, we have an insane amount of lumber just laying around. A lot of small stuff, but some decent sized stuff we can still use. So here in the bed, I have some 3/4 inch Advantech subfloor. If you guys know anything about that, it's virtually indestructible and almost waterproof. So that's gonna go on the bottom. And then for the sidewalls, I have some 2x12s laying around. Step one though is gonna be power wash this floor and get some rust inhibitor on it. Looks a whole lot better after being cleaned up a bit. But I think now you can kind of see just how bad some of those dents down there are, especially that guy up there. I'm gonna elevate this thing, maybe knock some of those dents out and power wash the underside a little bit. All right, that's as clean as I want it to be. I'm gonna move this thing so I can paint it and keep moving forward. And as I do so, let me show you how farm dads flex on suburban dads. You know those guys who have a riding lawnmower and a garden tractor for about a 1/4 acre property? Isn't that pretty practical? Not sure why everybody doesn't do that. What a rig. Well, I got that painted up. I'll let that dry for a little bit. Chris actually had some paint in his barn from those gates and gate posts we painted. We're supposed to put up like a few years ago, never did. As this thing's drying, I'll probably go ahead and do my lumber cuts off camera. I still need to run to Lowe's and get some hardware as well. Thought about adding a few more cross chains. As you can see here, I got one, kind of small, but it might help as well. So we'll see what I have in the barn. May have to run some more stuff down too. Time to fill it with some plywood. It's already rock solid up here. I'm not gonna screw this down, at least to the metal subfloor. I'm gonna use my 2x12s on the side and just kind of sandwich it in. I'm excited. So I got the floor in, and it makes a tremendous difference as far as the stability goes. I also jumped on the Advantech website. They said to make sure you lay these per the manufacturer instructions when installing in a barge wagon. So we're square. Time for the sides. So I got 3 pieces dry fit anyway. I have a bit of a dilemma as to whether I add a second 2x12 to this. If I do, you can see right here I'm gonna have to notch for the support bracket that holds the sideboard coming down. And even a 2x12 will get up into this too, so I have to notch around that. So I may just span the middle of those. I am going to put some zip board that I have on this because this is pretty much becoming a tiny house. But we'll see. Let me show you guys kind of the rest of the hardware I got too. So there are my couple chains I had in the barn. One much newer than the other. I'm going to put these though through the sides that the chains will clip onto, and using some carabiners to attach. And for the outside, drilling the 2x12s through the sheet metal. I'm using some self-drilling rough screws. Thought that was easier than washers and exterior screws and having to drill every single one out. So I got the front and this one side screwed. I just want to show you before I go any further how much more rigidity this thing has. So here is the side that's not screwed down yet. And you can see just how much flex there is in that. And this side, which is screwed with only one board, much more stout. I realize I'm adding a lot of weight to this. Well, not a lot relative to what it can haul, but be a little more top heavy, but I think it's definitely be worth it. Got that left side done now as well. I decided I am just going to cut pieces to go between these two brackets as opposed to going around them or lifting the sideboards out and modifying that. Honestly, right now with the height that this is with these sideboards, this is just about as high as I can go with my tractor if I'm loading this thing, because you know, you can park this thing and load it if you want, but I don't want to have to add clearance here. Got that side done, and I went ahead and pre-drilled or got these all started. I'll tell you, these roofing screws may not bite as hard as wood screws do into that wood, but for the self-tapping feature, it was incredible to not have to drill all those out. All right, so I got a couple pieces of that zip board cut. 8 footers leave me with about 2 foot back here, 1.5 foot anyway. Not sure if I'm gonna patch that in or not, but I gotta cut one from the middle there. So I'll fasten these on, and then from there it's just the chains. Chris stopped by earlier, we were talking. I also might paint this at some point, just to kind of give it a little bit more longevity. Don't want to have to do this every year. So I got that one side screwed in, and I have to just show you guys how amazing this is. I was on the fence about doing the zip board, but the amount of structure that it adds is insane. So here's the side with just the 2x12s. Still quite a bit better from what it was earlier, if you remember. Now the whole side kind of wobbles together as opposed to it having waves in it. But this side here, I mean, this thing's going nowhere. I'll finish this up and I'll jump back on when I'm ready for the chains. Okay, so I drilled out my holes. I went as high as I could, and I bought these longer U-bolts because I thought I was going to be in the middle of my 2x12s, but I'm not. So I'm going to, on the inside, block it out with some 2x4 blocks there. Well, as you can see there, I opted to not use those 2x4 blocks. It's just going to be more of a pain than it was worth. But I got my chains on there, and actually Chris just came over and said that he's got a couple chains in the barn for my tractor. I used to put on a tooth bar that are about the perfect length for this that I'm going to try to stick on there. But other than painting this thing, which I will not be doing today, I'd say it's done. I'm going to throw the tailgate on there and then grab the tractor and raise it up. See how it lifts. Doesn't the pond look great? Let's go give this thing its inaugural dump. I will say I'm already pleased just pulling it out here. The extra weight in that bed kept it down and from bouncing around and being noisy as can be. Kind of like towing an empty trailer on the highway. It's not 100% level right there, but we'll see how she does. As I expected. Perfect. Like I said, I added weight to it, but it's balanced weight, so it shouldn't really matter. In the grand scheme, that's at best 300, 400 pounds. At best, probably much less than that on running gear that can handle 8 ton. Here's a look at the underside. You can see just how rough it was and how rusty. It needs a lot of TLC, so hopefully, having painted the underside of that, or the other side of that, now having this Advantech subfloor, I'll paint that. I'll keep moisture off of that thing, keep this thing dry. If I could ever go over there and build my lean-to, we'd have a spot for it. I'll have to show you guys the lumber pile. You can kind of see it up there from the house build. Gonna have a big old fire here before too awful long. There's some debris to burn as well. But yeah, I'm pleased with this outcome. Need to paint these up white as well. I almost murdered them out yesterday when I had the black paint, but decided against that. Thanks for tagging along. I know that wasn't as an exciting video as seeing this thing in action, but that's just a precursor because I'm about ready to move a whole lot of dirt with this thing before too awful long. So stick around, hit that subscribe button. Gonna get busy before too awful long. Take care, guys.